This week in Java, I chose to do case project 4-3, the more difficult one. Average income tax by country app. They can enter their taxable income for the past year, and then they select a country. Uh, our parameters are that we have to get two integer values from the user, which is going to be our radio group as well as the radio ID, I should say, and the taxable income. Uh, there I don't understand this because there's multiplication, all of this, but the user can't really select it. It's just part of the built-in stuff, so I don't know if I did this right. I have to display the entire math problem. I also displayed some text below that as well. And then here's the parameters we had to go to on that. So get this open. Okay, so average income tax by country. I got rid of the action bar up here. I've got a text view, and then I've got the control where they enter in their input. Here's my radio group. Uh, and in order to make this work out, because I wanted it to also display the percentages, I uh, entered in a linear layout. So I've got three columns here. I've got my actual radio group itself. I've got a space, and then I have a vertical linear layout on the right side here that just displays four text views with the percentages in them. Uh, and then I have two text views down here that I've marked as invisible. And once the user inputs their stuff and hits calculate, it'll set those to visible and then enter in the strings with all the formatted data and everything. Let's go look at the code. Oh, and for theme, I just chose light, and then I entered in. Um, I changed this to no action bar manually. Okay, so that way we don't have the action bar popping down in here and saying the same thing twice. It just seems a little bit redundant. So let's go to the main class. All your standard generated stuff. This is important. Import decimal format. I'll get to that here in a minute. So this is more of the generated stuff at the start. So just on create, start doing all this. Down here, I'm setting the variables and getting the controls for the text views that'll have my end results in them. So here's the percentages for each of those tax rates, and of course, decimal format for those, uh, or in decimal format. It's less math later. Okay, so here I am initializing my radio group, and this will also contain my button down here. We'll get to that in a minute. I started this with if-else statements, and it suggested I use a switch, so I changed it to switch in case, and my default is going to be the USA tax. Um, so I have just my temporary names right here so that I can pass it on to whatever. Radio tax is what I'm calling each of these. So that'll just be a general variable to hold each of these. And I've defined these up here. So once we get down here and we run through our switch statements and we get to whatever one we need to, it pulls it out and sets a variable with preferred name, tax percent, and then passes that on. Down here, I created a decimal format just to make things look a little bit cleaner so I wouldn't end up with 30 zeros on the end of a number or something like that. So this is just a standard function that you can import from Java as I showed up here. So df is what I'm calling the decimal format, just for shorthand on the variable. So the new decimal format set a maximum fraction digits of 2, so it only goes out 2 places. Down here, I'll get rid of this white space. Okay, here I'm pulling in the input from the user, the income input for the number text up there. Finding that, okay, down here, getting more of my variables, total income, I'm parsing that from the string up here and changing it to a double. Tax dollar is going to be tax income times tax percent, or total income times tax percent. So whatever the user enters, multiplied by whatever they get from here and from here. Okay, final total is going to be total income minus the tax dollars. So that's going to be their income after tax. Down here, I've got some strings set up. And the only reason I did it in here instead of my strings XML is because just was having issues, so I figured it would be best to do it this way. So total income, tax percent times 100, and that'll give you your total tax. And down here you see I've applied the decimal format that I set up earlier. So df.format and then tax dollar, which is my variable, starting a new line in the same tax view, or text view, I mean. And so our second line is going to be our total income minus our tax income, or our tax dollar amount. And then that's going to equal our final total, so our income after tax. And again, I've decimal formatted each of these. In our final string, which is going to be more text instead of the actual math itself, I'm getting the name of the radio that was chosen, so the radio string, which would be China, USA, Germany, Sweden, whatever. You would pay, and then decimal formatting, tax dollars, if your income was whatever they put in. And then here's my button that once I hit it, the calculation button, uh, I've set my on-click listener here with the lambda function. So it sets those text views to visible, because remember I had them invisible to start out with, and it sets the text to the strings up here. That's formatted in the way I want. Over here in my strings and my editor, I've got my title, just all the stuff to fill out, pretty much. Nothing special there. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. And I built this on API 24. I'm running it on the Pixel Pro 3, or Pixel Pro 6. So yearly income, we'll say 47569.57. A nice ugly number. Drop the keyboard. Let's click Germany. Calculate. So it's taking what the user input, multiplying it by 32%. And remember, in my code, I multiplied 0.32 by 100 and put it in that decimal format. And then this is the amount in taxes that they would be paying. So here I'm taking their total income that they put in, subtracting out the tax amount, and that's my final after taxes. And here's my string just listing all that same information out. Uh, and also, I designed my own app icon for this. I figured I should include it since it was in the uh, chapter. So average income tax, I just took a red ball that was free stock on Adobe, and then I just put in some text and modified it just to, make a little icon. And that's it for this week. Thank you.